So, Commissioner, Germany and France and Netherlands are pushing for imposing visas on Western Balkan countries. Is this the right path? How can we have a common neighborhood policy if some member states are pulling back from some decisions?
First, I think there are 6 countries actually behind this request. I on one side, I see the merit in their concern, because there is this increased in asylum seekers who, without any foundation or well-founded reasons, are actually misusing the visa-free regime between the Western Balkan countries and the Schengen countries. And I believe that the Western Balkan countries will take this seriously, because I believe there is still the time for the measures which would prevent this increased number of unfounded asylum seekers to reach the Schengen countries. I also believe that these 6 countries will think twice before pushing this issue to the edges. I do believe that we have an issue which needs to be addressed with all the seriousness, because it becomes a part of the local politics. But at the same time, you're absolutely right that taking this visa liberalization from the citizens of Western Balkans, what a setback it would be for both the enlargement and neighborhood policies of the European Union.
Mm-hmm. You said today that at the end of the European partnership there is not any wall for Moldova, but when will be the next step on Moldovan road to joining the European Union?
I don't know that. I think what I'm trying to say is that already at this point of the time there needs to be the light at the end of the tunnel shown. There needs to be a hope that indeed at the end of the current road there is not a high or tall brick wall. In the meantime, there is a lot on Moldova's menu. We're negotiating political association, economic integration, visa-free regime. And based on the principle more for more, actually Moldova is becoming per capita the country the Commission is supporting the most. So we still have a lot for Moldovans plate, as I said. And I hope also as Moldovans will proceed with further reform steps, there will be also a greater emphasis on sustainability of the reforms and the inclusiveness of the reform process. But the point is right, the one you have mentioned. The country being asked to adopt sometimes difficult reform steps needs to have a certain perspective that at the end of that not easy road there is this European perspective.
And speaking of that, we saw this late month important political changes along with the Arab Spring. Can we expect a switch concerning the money that the European Union is allocating for this region and maybe less money for the Eastern Partnership?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't work like that. In the past, there was some kind of gentleman agreement among the member states about the portion of the sums going to the south and portion of the sums going to the east. But now we have 2 fundamentally new principles. The first one is differentiation. We have now our policy much more tailored to address the needs of the south on one side and those addressing the needs on the east on the other side. And the second new principle is the one I already mentioned, the more for more. So the more country, the more region delivers on the reforms, the more support it could expect from the European Commission. To paraphrase that, one could say, instead of some predetermined ratio between south and east, one has to accept that the money the financial assistance should go where the action is, where the reform is taking place.
Mm-hmm. Can we expect a major change in the joining European criteria?
No, the rules of the games do not change. Okay, because we negotiate in acquis, the acquis would have to change for the rules of the games to change. But we're changing the methods.
What does it mean?
It means that while in the past ticking the boxes would be enough to go through the requirement here, what we are now focusing on is actually the implementation. It's what we call a track record, and particularly in the area of the rule of law. Montenegro is the first country to go through this newly redesigned accession negotiations. What it means is that particularly the two chapters which deal with so-called soft acquis, but at the same time the most important elements of the EU membership, the values, the principle, the fundamental freedoms, democracy, rule of law, independence of the justice, you name it. Those issues you opened at the beginning of accession negotiations and you close it at the end of accession negotiations. So throughout the couple of years, with even more involvement, bigger involvement of the member states, you are able not only to assess but to steer the preparation process, steer the track record of the country, and all of that should prepare the country fully assume its responsibilities and rights when the ratification process is going to be over of the accession treaty. Meaning that there will be no need for any cooperation and verification mechanism. We're learning our lessons.
Speaking of that, you just mentioned today that Romania has to take some measures that this MCV just will become history, and that as long as it is this mechanism in place, there will be no Schengen joining. So what measures are we talking about here?
First, this linkage, whoever is making the link, a linkage between Schengen area and membership in Schengen and CVM is wrong, I believe. The Commission is very clear, making it clear that there is no linkages. I mean, the Schengen has its own clear technical criteria. The CVM has its own rules of the games. And the Commission is of the opinion, by the way, that Romania has already delivered on to what's being expected for the country to become a part of Schengen. Now, coming back to the CVM, I don't think it is in the interest of anyone to turn CVM in some kind of permanent mechanism, which would be there only in the case of some member states and being absent in other member states. I believe that it should be, first of all, in the interest of Romanians themselves and their political elite to join the forces, find a consensus, find a determination, and address those benchmarks, delivering on what's being expected from the CVM, that the Commission will be in the position, and I hope it will be sooner than later, to report to the member states everything's has been required, has been done. I think it would be to the benefit of Romania, the European Union, but it will be also to the benefit of enlargement countries. But again, the way out is not in anyone in Brussels changing the rules of the games and lowering the bar. The way out is for the Romanians themselves to deliver on those benchmarks. It has been long, 6 years. I think the time has come to take it seriously. And again, first of all, to the benefit of the Romanians.
One last question, if I may. What about Turkey? Are the negotiations still blocked?
I think they are not being blocked. There is a stalemate. I mean, we have not been able to open any new chapters in the last 2 years, and this is not a good sign. There are a number of the reasons for that stalemate. I mean, there is obviously a credibility issue, both on the Turkish side. I mean, I'm talking about their commitments to reforms, but also to a certain extent on our side. I mean, you do not change the rules of the games in the middle of that game. And I'm talking about some member states blocking unilaterally some of those chapters available for our negotiations. And why these negotiations are important, I have not seen any better framework for our relationship than accession negotiation combined with the political dialogue, including, of course, what's going on in a shared region. And second, and that's probably even more important, the accession negotiations is actually the only process which keeps the European Union relevant for Turkish reforms. And I think we should be interested in Turkish reforms, their continuation, and them delivering on European standards based on European values.
And one really, really short question. According to our politician, and not only to them, we have problems with the minorities, Romanian minorities in Ukraine and in Serbia. Those are both countries that are aspiring to becoming European members. So it's quite clear up to this point that Romania couldn't solve those problems through bilateral negotiations. What the European Commission can do about this?
I think we can do what we are actually doing. The last year, we have tried to create the conditions for Romania to sit with its neighbors, particularly Serbia, and addressing those issues. We have involved the experts. We observed the situation on the ground with a mission of experts. Encourage OSCE and its commissioner for the protection of minorities to play an important role, and he's playing an important role. There was a meeting last week in The Hague, and as far as I know, actually there were some results. In the progress report, we have paid a lot of attention to this issue, and we will be paying the attention to this issue. We are very keen to see the enlargement process not to become a victim of the open bilateral issues, and we're definitely keen to see only those to become the European Union members who have quite a good record on delivering on the values and principles and fundamental freedoms and rights, including the protection of minorities.